Morning, guys. Today I'm on Lake Lanier in northeastern-ish Georgia, just north of Atlanta, and we have got some interesting conditions. Look at this. It is flooding. We've had rain and more rain over the last several months, but this is the highest Lake Lanier. According to the news, it's the highest Lake Lanier's been since 1977. It's 5 feet above full pool, which is unheard of, especially this time of the year. But my son's got a high school fishing tournament this weekend, and I'm here just trying to figure things out and see what the lake's like, so we're not surprised this weekend. So come on with me. I'm gonna go get the cameras and the boat and everything else in the water, and we're gonna go find some fish. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the conditions that we have. We got high muddy water, but if you look on the bank, you can see where the water is coming down a little bit. So we got falling high muddy water. Like I said earlier, it's 5 feet above full pool, which is the highest it's been since 1977. I hate cold muddy water. But the first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna go look into these dead pockets, these pockets that don't have creeks or anything running into the back, and see if they're clearer than out here on the main river channel. What happens when it rains is the first places to muddy up are gonna be back in the backs of the creeks and the rivers and any of the tributaries that run in. That's what's gonna muddy up first. So right after a rain, I'm gonna fish the south end of the lake, or the lower end of the lake. But after a few days, like it's been probably a week and a half of just muddy water rolling in here, it just gets pretty bad, and you start looking into these pockets. The last things to muddy up are the pockets. And then as the rain stops, a couple days after that, it pushes out and the backs of the rivers and the creeks are cleared up. So I'm looking for the clearest water that I can possibly find, and we're gonna go from there. But let's just go find some fish, because these things are, I'm hoping they're not in a funk. The good thing is we got the next few days are gonna be stable weather. It's gonna be rainy, but the water temperature is gonna stay about the same. The rain's gonna stay about the same, just kind of scattered. And so it should keep these fish pretty happy. Man, mud soup, straight up muddy, but I'm still gonna look. Trying this one out. It's a longer pocket. I'll show you on the map. Let me see if I can get this thing right. So it's a longer pocket. It's got a creek that runs in the back. I'm gonna check and see if it's cleared up way back in the back of there. It's got another little spring that runs in right there. But I don't know. I hate cold muddy water. We're gonna keep looking though. All right, so I don't know if you guys can see this, but behind me, look at the base of that big tree. You see how there's a water line about 4 or 5 inches above the water, or where there's a wet spot? That is a sign that the water is falling, okay? So if the bass were really shallow, as muddy as this water is, it tells me that the bass have got to be shallow. They move shallow when it's muddy, just so they can see, and they feel a bit more comfortable and everything else. They get thick into this cover. But as the water starts to fall, they begin to pull out. So I fully expected, if there were bass in the shallowest cover along the bank, which is a lot of times what happens, once that water starts to fall, they just pull out to the next available cover. So I know I just pointed without the camera pointed that way. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So if they were up here, up along the bank, they pull out to these next available cover. So I've got a reaction bait or a search bait on right now, in 5 feet of water, and because it's muddy, it's a chartreuse and blackback with an orange belly. It's nice and bright. I'm just going to cast around this area. I don't expect to catch anything, but I'm back here. It's a little bit clearer here than it is out there on the main lake. So I'm gonna go and bang this little Squarebill. It's a Spro Little John or Fat Little John or something like that. Fat Papa is what it's called. So it's got a lot of wide, it's got a wide kick. It's got some rattle in it. It makes some noise and it's bright. So just bang that up against a lot of this cover is basically what I'm gonna do. I'm also probably gonna tie on a Texas rig, no, probably a jig, a black and blue jig, which is another thing that I like to throw in this muddy water, especially if they're in tight to cover. But let's do this for a minute and see what happens. All right, so let's talk a little bit about how I'm doing this Squarebill since I've got it in my hand. I've got this thing on a prototype rod, but it's a medium moderate action rod, so it's got a lot of flex to it. 12-pound test fluorocarbon. Typically in this kind of stuff, I'll go 12 to 15. The shallower I go, and the more cover I hit, the higher the pound test that I want. You don't normally have to do that, but if you're going to catch a big one, you might as well have a big line on. But yeah, 15 is about right for this. 6:1 gear ratio reel, and I'm just casting it around, trying to bang it into as much of this visible cover as I can see. But who knows? It's even getting clearer the further back it is, so maybe, just maybe, we'll run into a fish. All right, so as I'm casting it through all this thick stuff, it's pinpoint accuracy is a must, but as I bump things, I'll come up and I'll bump something and I'll give it a quick pause and I'll go back to a reeling. And what that does, it gives the bass the opportunity that if it's sitting there to come up and grab it. And by banging it up against stuff, that's what causes you to scare the crap out of them or get that reaction bite. Oops. All right, so right here in front of me, I've got a little bit of water running in. I might turn around so you guys can see it. So a lot of times that creates enough disturbance in the water and it's bringing in a lot of new fresh stuff that bait fish will get in there and hang out, and then the bass will follow. And a lot of times, at least as right now, you can see it's just a hair clearer right where that water's coming in. All right, so what I've got, I've got a heavy cover jig, and this is one of the jigs that I designed for Seabird Outdoors under the Flukemaster series. So you guys can go check it out. I always leave the links down in the description. I'm trying out a new soft plastic company. I just found this one. It's not even a company. It's just the bait, but it's X Zone. Putting one of their little beavers on here as a trailer. I don't need a whole lot of kick. I just need some bulk to it. Just give it a little bit bigger profile as it's going down through the thick cover in this mud. So I just kind of slide it on there. We're going to flip around, at least in the base of these trees, these bushes. Try it out and see what happens. All right, so in muddy conditions like this, bass get really shallow and really tight to cover. And shallow is all relative. You just got to figure out what depth they're holding out, where they're comfortable. But once you do that, they're just going to be tight into these cover. They feel really comfortable close to something they can see when it's muddy like this. So they get tight in there, and as many pitches as you can make to the base of these bushes and into cover, and have that jig fall down in front of their face, it'll scare them into biting. They don't, typically they'll feed on anything that gets within that little strike zone, but when it's muddy, that strike zone gets smaller and smaller and smaller. So we definitely have clear water back in here though, which is good to know. But I'm fishing a 3/8 ounce jig on a medium heavy extra fast 7'5" rod, 20-pound test fluorocarbon. This is Seagar Braze X. 1:1 gear ratio reel, mainly so I can get my cast back to me quicker and make more casts as I'm working through this thick cover. But like I said, I don't expect to get a bite here, but I hate to not try it because it's clearer. All right, so there's see this real bushy tree right here. It's got a lot of base to it, a lot of stuff going down into the water. I'm gonna try to skip up in there. Whoops, that's not a skip. I'll try to skip up in there and fish that area really well. I don't know how that happened. Make several casts at the base of these trees. Really ought to have braid on, but I didn't bring any rods with braid on them. So it is what it is. See how it's much clearer back here? No bait back here though, so probably not any fish in this pocket, but that still gives me a clue as to where the clearest water is. So we will fish this pocket out. I did get one bite, which was good. So we may have to start looking in the backs of creeks and tributaries. That was definitely a fish. I don't have any batteries. There's a fish. Is he still on there? No, he got off. Look at that. Nice. Oh yeah. That's 3 casts. That's 3 casts and 3 bites, and finally got that one to bite. So back in the back of the creeks, in the clearer water, you're gonna find some spotted bass, which is what Lake Lanier is known for. Nice. There's another one. Ooh, even bigger. One fish is luck, 2 fish is a pattern. All right. Nice, nice, nice. I'm excited now. We might have a good day. Now, the reason why the spotted bass are back here is spotted bass are primarily sight feeders. And so when it gets muddy like that, they typically try to find the clearest water that they can. So that's the whole reason why I came back here looking. And it's the whole reason why I caught fish, is because they're back here, they're in this clean water, and they're feeding on anything else that's back here. And they will not be finicky about what they bite. That's for sure. Just hoping I can find another place like this somewhere else in the lake, several places like this. There's a nice one. Just cast it into the same spot. That looks like a, nope, it's another spot. They're stacked in here, that's for sure. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna fish my way out. Found them back here. I'm just gonna kind of basically speed fish with this crankbait. Just fish my way out, stay along the creek channel, and just see if the creek channel has something to do with it as I'm working my way out of this pocket to go find another one. So I hate to leave a spot and a small spot where you caught fish and not fish your way out and see if you can find if there's a bigger school somewhere close by. It'd be dumb not to fish my way out. All right, so basically what I'm going to be doing for the next little while at least is working my way all the way back to the backs of these pockets that actually have water running into them. Getting into that clearer water and then fishing. Just checking out this pattern is basically all I'm doing. Just trying to figure it out. Now the hard part is a lot of these, like this area, as you can see, can be a little bit hard to weave my way in and out, but that's why I have an Alumacraft. Little boats get into tight places. Alright, I'm gonna switch over. I keep getting hung up with this jig. And I want it to fall a little bit faster, just to be able to fish a little bit faster. So I'm gonna switch. I'm gonna pull the jig off and tie on a Texas rig and just put the same soft plastic on there, or just one similar. So looks like I'm missing a few crawls. All right, so basically that's what I'm throwing. I got a 3/8 ounce weight. And this is called the adrenaline bug or something like that from Excite. I forgot to mention that. Of course I didn't know it, but anyway. So, and then same rod, jig rod, 20-pound test fluorocarbon, 8-1-1 gear ratio, real medium heavy rod, 7'5". I like a 7.3 or a 7.5. 7.3 would actually be better with all this thick stuff over my head, but oh well. No big fat hairy deal. So I'm back here, it's still fairly muddy. Let's see how far back I can go. Along the edge is a little bit cleaner. In the middle is muddy though. So I'm not gonna slow down until I get to that cleaner water. All right, so I headed back to the back of a larger creek than I have been fishing. Quite a bit of current pushing out of here. So I'm hoping as we get further back it'll clear up. I've got a spinnerbait tied on, hung in this tree over here because I just wrapped it around the vine. We're gonna go get it and I'm gonna show you the spinnerbait that I picked out and tied on. Oh goodness, so this is the spinnerbait I tied on. It's a little chartreuse and white. It's got white chartreuse blades. Pretty good little muddy water spinnerbait. This is they call it a mini-me spinnerbait. And it's just a compact little spinnerbait. Got a hidden weight underneath the skirt. You guys look at that right there. I've been fishing these for a number of years. You can find them here in Georgia in local stores. I'm not sure about anywhere else. But I haven't fished them in a long time, but I picked some up. But typically when I'm fishing for spotted bass, and I like to have a smaller, more compact spinnerbait. That's why I picked that out. So I got it on my chatter crank rod, which are selling now as far as I know. But it's a 7'4", moderate action, medium heavy moderate action, 7.3 to 1 gear ratio, Concept Z, 15-pound fluorocarbon, and that's going to be my setup for just a little bit. That'll be in lieu of the Squarebill. I'll throw the Squarebill a little bit, but I think the spinnerbait around all this flooded stuff works a whole lot better. It's a lot more weedless. Oh man, this is rough. I figured for sure we'd find a bunch of fish back here since we've kind of found them in that first spot. Well, I'll fish a little bit further, then I'm gonna get out of here and go to the main lake and start all over. Sometimes you gotta do it. A little bit dingier water back here because it rained last night. And a lot of this water in this creek comes from the roads and the subdivisions that are around here, so. But very weird. Well, today I caught those 3 back in that pocket, way back in that clean water, and then I couldn't duplicate that pattern. So I pulled out and I came down here to kind of midway down the lake. The water got a little bit clearer back in this one little large creek or river or whatever you want to call it. and I fished it about an hour, but the sun's going down. I'm gonna go put it on the trailer and go get something to eat. But yeah, that's the end of day one. It's great. I've got a little something figured out, but I'm gonna go tomorrow to the other end of the lake and see if I can't find a whole lot of clear water. So, but like I always say, be sure to introduce somebody to fishing. Introduce them to my channel. Let me help you teach them how to fish. More importantly, get out on the water, go out and catch some fish, and have a great day. We'll see you.